Man, 2022 came and went, and while it wasn't the best year in gaming, there was a lot of delays that happened. There were still some pretty big hits out there that came. I mean, we had a couple of remasters. We had like God of War Ragnarok that came out. Even Elden Ring came out that year. So there were still a lot of great games. Unfortunately, it wasn't my favorite year in gaming. 2023 is looking to be the best year in gaming in my opinion, but there were still some pretty cool games that came out that year. I am going to mention my top 5 games of 2022, but there's a twist to it. There's a lot of games that I still haven't played yet, so I won't be mentioning them in this here, as well as I won't be mentioning any remakes. So like when it comes to games I haven't played God of War Ragnarok, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, games like that, Live Alive, which is another game I've been wanting to play. I haven't played any of those, so those won't make my list. I'm only going to tell you the games that I've played personally, and they're not going to be remakes or remasters. So Crisis Core, unfortunately, is not going to make this list. If you haven't played Crisis Core, though, Reunion, I highly recommend it. Crisis Core is definitely one of the best PSP games out there. I definitely recommend playing that game. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into my top 5 games of 2022. Coming in at number 5 is Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. I'm pretty sure you didn't think this was gonna make the list. I'm personally a huge Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan. I played it ever since I was a kid, ever since the anime came out, because that's actually what got me into Yu-Gi-Oh! Started playing it there, and then of course I grew from there and continued watching it. Dropped off of it for a little bit, and then came back when Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds came out, and really loved the whole Stardust Dragon setup, the synchro summon, and all that stuff, and pretty much got into it from there. But as much as I loved and enjoyed collecting the trading card game, there was very few people I can play against. I would take the stuff to work, the cards to work, and play against people over there, but that was really it. Then Master Duels came out, and man, can I tell you, it is an amazing game. If you're a Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan, or even a trading card fan, I highly recommend it. It's an awesome game. I feel like the Yu-Gi-Oh! Rules are pretty simple and pretty easy to know, in my opinion, but then again, I've been playing it for years, right? Over a decade, so maybe that's why I say it's pretty easy. But Master Duels is a great way to play against other people if you love Yu-Gi-Oh! And there is like a pay to play aspect to it, but it's not really like, how can I put it this way? I guess it's not like Sharky, right? It's not forcing you to pay. Honestly, in the first month or two that it came out, I had some amazing cards that came out. I was actually able to hold my own. I didn't have to really spend any money. So that's just letting you know that it's a great, the barrier to entry is pretty good. So I highly recommend playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. It's definitely my number 5 pick for sure. Number 4 is gonna go to Tunic. Tunic is a Zelda-like / Souls-like game. I mean, telling from the trailer, you can see that your character is a fox who wears a green tunic, has a sword and shield. Pretty sure you can see the Zelda-like comparisons there. But the Souls-like comparisons goes with how difficult the game is. Honestly, it's a really fun game. If you like Souls-like games and you love Zelda, this is probably the best game that blends those two together. Even though I could say like Souls-like games were already Zelda-like to an extent, where you're pretty much traveling, you fight a boss, you open up another area, and so forth. But anyways, Tunic is amazing. Like some of the stuff that I really liked is you get a little guide that kind of helps you out. It's like an instruction manual. It looks like an old like NES or SNES instruction manual, and it kind of tells you where there's like hidden treasures or different moves you can do and stuff like that. And I thought that was one of the coolest things to collect. I honestly recommend Tunic to everybody. It's available on all platforms now. I played it on Xbox, of course, because it was available on Game Pass. And man, I can't tell you enough. If you haven't played this game, I highly recommend it for sure. Coming from me, I wasn't a huge like indie person. I didn't really play a lot of indie games, but Tunic is one of those indie games that did really hook me in. A lot of it has to do with those Zelda comparisons, and it does it very well. Highly recommend it. Definitely check it out. So I bet you didn't expect this to be number 3. Number 3 goes to Elden Ring. I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate in the comment section here. Even though I was rooting for it to get Game of the Year over God of War Ragnarok, Elden Ring has to go to number 3 for me. Especially as I enjoy the game. I love what it did with the open world. It honestly did the Breath of the Wild to what Dark Souls was. Did a lot of cool things for open world gaming. It was very fun. I'm still going to put it at number 3. And you'll hear my reason why when I get to the number 2 and the number 1 game for sure. But anyways, I love the way it changed the aspect of what we looked at as in terms of a Souls-like game. And honestly, it's going to be really hard to one-up Elden Ring when it comes to the Souls-like genre. It's, you know, again, it has the Breath of the Wild effect where it's kind of hard. I personally can't picture anything being better than Breath of the Wild in terms of Zelda, but who knows? We might be surprised when Tears of the Kingdom comes out. But going back to Elden Ring, it is a Souls-like game, open world game at that as well. It does have some difficulty, but I love the way they open it up in the terms that if you do, if you are struggling with a boss, you can go ahead and find a different route, which is really nice. I remember with Dark Souls 1, if I was stuck on a boss, I would just keep dying over and over again. There's really not much I can do unless somebody came out and helped me out in multiplayer. Here it does give you some options to kind of move around, you can grind, there's a bunch of other stuff you can do, which is really neat. The story, even though it's kind of hard to follow, it is there, it's pretty amazing. The worlds, the environment are amazing. Honestly, it just improved on everything that I liked about the Souls genre, and I can't wait to see where they go from it there. I know From Software's next game is Armored Core, which is another game I really enjoy, but I do want to see what they're going to do with the Elden Ring franchise. Are they going to create an Elden Ring 2, or is it going to be another original IP just using the Souls-like formula? If you haven't checked out Elden Ring, definitely check it out. It's available on all platforms except for Switch, unfortunately, but I highly recommend it for sure. Alright, I'm probably going to get even more hate for this. Number 2 is going to be Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Specifically Pokemon Violet, since that's the one I played. Again, similar to Elden Ring, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet improves on the Pokemon formula and makes it open world. Are you seeing the pattern here? It seems like every game that's traditional breaks away and makes an amazing game when they move to open world. As much as I love open world games, it doesn't stop us there, right? Like, we can't have games like Assassin's Creed that just gives you a bunch of checklists to kind of move over. No, you have to do something unique and something different. And when it comes to open world games, what I really like is the ability to be able to explore in any order, any way I want it. And Pokemon does do that to an extent. You're able to kind of go through whatever gym leaders you want. You also there's multiple paths to take, which is different from most Pokemon games. Typically in the Pokemon genre, it's really just beat gym leaders and that's it. You're good to go. But in here, there are 3 different story paths. 2 of those story paths are amazing. That third one is kind of like, it's neat, like the story behind it is neat, but at the same time I don't really care about that. But anyways, Pokemon does improve on that formula. Unfortunately, the only bad thing about this is the performance. Yeah, the performance is definitely not great at all, but I still recommend Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. The gameplay is fun, the world is fun, the music is amazing. I mean, everything about the game was fun and I was hooked. Even with the performance issues there, I still really enjoyed the game. So I highly recommend it, and this is my number 2 game. Alright, and coming in at number 1 is another Pokemon game. This goes to Pokemon Legends Arceus. Now this was definitely my favorite game of the year. It was really a tough decision to make in terms of putting this at number 1. But man, if you haven't played Pokemon Legends Arceus, it is amazing. I actually enjoyed it a lot more than Pokemon Violet. And what it did to the Pokemon franchise is something else. They changed up the battle system, they changed up the progression system. Basically everything about the game was new. And honestly, coming from Pokemon Legends Arceus to Pokemon Violet, it was kind of a letdown. There's a lot of things they forgot to add in there. Such as, I do love the ability to have different ride Pokemon. Each Pokemon has their own way of traveling, so you can switch between them, which was pretty neat. There's also just being able to capture Pokemon straight. You can actually go ahead and battle Pokemon without sending a Pokemon into battle, capture them in different ways. Like, there was a lot more mechanics. It was definitely more, I don't know, like RPG-ish. If you haven't played Pokemon Legends Arceus, I highly recommend it. There's so many amazing things about this game. It definitely was my number 1 game of the year. And I really hope they come out with another Pokemon Legends type game. I just love the whole foundation. The story was amazing. The only thing I kind of wish it had was just more battling against trainers. But man, I'll tell you, it was crazy how you're able to get into a battle, then 2 Pokemon would appear, or you'll battle 1 trainer who has 3 Pokemon at the same time. There's so many cool things about this game that I don't know why they didn't add it to Pokemon Violet. It's definitely my #1 game. It changed up the Pokemon formula for sure, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people were wishing that Violet was more like Legends Arceus. Oh man, if you haven't played this game, definitely go check it out. It is worth every penny. I'm pretty sure it's been on sale too a couple times, so it won't break the bank or anything like that, but I highly recommend Pokemon Legends Arceus. It is my #1 game of 2022. Well, there you have it. Those are my top 5 games of 2022. And it was pretty difficult to make, honestly. Like, I juggled around with the order plenty of times. I didn't know if I should put Elden Ring at #2 or even #1 at that. But in the end, I decided to put it at #3. Legends Arceus is just, it was hard to get that on my head. Like, honestly, I did think about it for the longest, and it definitely is my #1 pick. I had the most fun playing that game. Like, honestly, I was hooked from the minute I played it. The music was amazing. Everything about the game is amazing. Highly recommend playing that. Tunic is another great game. I mean, if you haven't played Tunic, you gotta play it. And even Yu-Gi-Oh! If you're not a Yu-Gi-Oh fan, I highly still recommend playing Yu-Gi-Oh! If you like card-based battle systems, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is definitely where it's at. I just love Yu-Gi-Oh! I love the concept of it, the way you battle, everything about it, the rules. It's an amazing card game. Still one of my favorite card games to play every now and then, for sure. There are some other games that didn't make the list that I do want to give a shout out to. Dragon Quest Treasures is one of them. It's a nice beginner friendly action RPG. It's it's Dragon Quest, so it has a little I think it's geared more towards kids. It's a little bit kid friendly there, but I still recommend playing that. Chained Echoes, an amazing game. I haven't finished it yet. This would have definitely made the list if I finished it, but I highly recommend you playing it. It's like a mixture of Chrono Trigger mixed with like Xenogears or Xenogears, however you want to pronounce it. And actually Lunar. It reminds me a lot of Lunar. If you haven't played Lunar, which is a JRPG, that's another one you gotta play for sure. But Chain Echoes is definitely one I do recommend. Let's see what else was there. Of course, there was Crisis Core, but that was a remake. Definitely an amazing game. If you haven't played that, I highly recommend that. And then, like I said, I haven't played God of War Ragnarok. I will play it eventually when it gets, when I get to actually buy it. But I mean, there's a bunch of games coming out. We're now in January, and we got Fire Emblem games coming out, Dead Space. Oh man, One Piece Odyssey is actually looking great. Then you got February. Oh man, I'm telling you, this year is gonna be crazy. I don't know what to do. I'm not gonna have enough money for all these games, man. Oh man, yeah. Now that I think about it, I'm gonna need a lot of money for these games. But appreciate you watching the video. Don't forget to go ahead and like and subscribe. Don't forget to check out Mike's video where he gives his top 5 games for 2022. And also check out the games we're looking forward to the most in 2023. I mean, 2023 is going to be a stacked year. We already know what the first half of the year looks like, but we don't even know what the second half is going to bring. Hopefully it brings us some Metroid Prime, you know what I mean. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.